Hello and welcome. We're really excited to have everyone here today for our weekly OCI deep dive. Please go ahead and take it away, Suraj.
Okay, thanks, Zaid. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. So this is Suraj. So I will go through with the initial introduction of the full stack DR, and then I'll hand it over to Vinay, where he'll talk about all the PeopleSoft stuff which we have done, and also the various resources we have. And also we have a couple of a customer story which we like to show as well as part of the session. So let's get started. So yeah, this is the agenda as I mentioned. So we have a quick overview of the service in case for the folks who don't know what is full stack DR. I'll just spend 5 minutes of what is the service and what are the benefits, and then we'll have a major of the presentation covering about the PeopleSoft DR, how to set up, and then how you can integrate with full stack DR, and also what are the resources we have. And as I mentioned, we end up with a custom DR. Okay, so let's start what the service does. So the full stack DR service is currently available within OCI only. So just want to make sure you understand that correctly. So the service is currently available within OCI only, right? So it helps you to orchestrate the disaster recovery runtime operations like switchover, failover, or DR drills for the PeopleSoft application or any application deployed across OCI regions with a single click of a button, right? So in short, it helps you to orchestrate your PeopleSoft application across the OCI region or across, which is in case if it is developed across ADs. So again, like it supports across ADs as well as two regions also. So from a service perspective, we have a construct called protection group, which we'll discuss in detail. But in short, the customer is expected to organize their application stacks into protection groups, and then they can start adding their components into the DR protection groups. So once they've done that, then they can simply use our service to do a switchover or failover or DR drill operation with a single click of a button. And in terms of validation, we have two things. One we call as pre-checks, which will be coming up as part of every DR plan. And apart from that, we also recently introduced a new DR plan type called DR drill, which is primarily used for uh, doing the task like DR mock testing. Right? So if you have any such use cases, you can use the DR drill plan so that you can complete your DR testing without affecting your production workloads. So in terms of services, what we support as a member type, so we primarily support all the core OCI services like compute, database, storage, and networking services, right? So example, when you add a member to the service, we have options to add compute. So compute side, you can either add a compute virtual machine or dedicated virtual machine host, right? So example, from a PeopleSoft purpose perspective, the application will be running in the compute machine, right? And similarly, from the storage, we have a native member support for file storage, block storage, and object storage is coming up soon. And from the Oracle database platform as a service perspective, you can add Exadata CS, BaseDB, autonomous transaction processing, and autonomous data warehouse from the serverless infrastructure. And also you could add a load balancer as a member type. So in terms of business benefits, right? So what customers can expect when they convert from a manual DR runbook process to an automated runbook process, right? They can expect to do the DR recovery operation at scale, right? So example, PeopleSoft may be one application, but from a business perspective, you might be having bunch of different applications in OCI, right? So you could recover your multiple applications parallelly by using full stack DR. And in terms of validation, as I mentioned, we have a pre-checks which always creates every plan. And also, apart from that, we also recently introduced a DR plan type called DR drill, which will help you to do a DR mock testing without impacting the production service. And the beauty of this service is the service is highly flexible and also highly customizable. So we don't mandate you need to have a specific DR deployment pattern, right? So apart from that, I mean, rather than that, if you have a DR existing topology, depending on your configuration, you can simply tie in the services within our service, right? So we don't mandate you need to deploy your service in like active passive or cold VM DR. Right? As long as you have a manual procedure or a process which is in place where you can do a recovery, then you can integrate those things with our service. And we also, I mean, in terms of your existing automation, right, you could basically reuse those automation along with our service. So you could capitalize on your existing efforts. So example, if you're already using certain scripts to do the recovery process, you could simply plug in those scripts as part of the overall DR plan. All right, so this is about the quick introduction. So with this, I will just want to launch a quick poll to understand how you currently manage your DR. So let me go ahead and launch a poll for you, so that please take a minute to answer it, so that we understand what kind of DR deployment you have for your PeopleSoft application, and also based on my introduction, you understood what exactly the service does, right? So I highly recommend you to take a minute or so to answer these questions, so that it will help us better to cater your requirements. So I launched the poll. Please take a moment to answer these questions. Right, so I could see the answers are coming up, right? So yeah, this is kind of expected, right? So we see customers primarily currently do manual kind of process for their PeopleSoft application. So that's where the service will be highly useful to convert into an automated runbook. And so the first question, I can see you have both production and DR workloads, but there was an answer they don't have. But we expect to have both production and DR workloads into the OCI. Yeah, in terms of OCI service, you get that right. So you could, this is a fully managed service, and also the service can be used by using both options. All right, so maybe I will end the poll here. So after this, what I will do, I'm just sharing the results as well so that you can see the answers, like what we got from the poll, right? Okay, so let me stop sharing. So what I will do now, I will transition this to Vinay to take this forward. Vinay?
Thanks, Suraj. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Vinay Shivanna. I am part of the North America Cloud Infrastructure team. I am the PeopleSoft specialist. Today, I'm going to walk you through the steps we have followed to implement full stack disaster recovery for PeopleSoft application. Before I go through in details about the steps, I will quickly walk you through the PeopleSoft architecture we have deployed for this demo purpose. As you can see on the slides, this is the PeopleSoft architecture. It is a typical architecture for most of the customers. We have used this architecture for this demo purpose. As you can see, we have considered all the major components of PeopleSoft applications, such as web servers, application servers, process scheduler servers, Elasticsearch and Kibana, along with the database. So this architecture is an active passive DR setup. So where you can see on the right side is a DR region, where it is an exact replica of production region. Also, the synchronization is enabled between production and DR. So for this demo purpose, we'll be considering Phoenix region as the production region. Ashburn will be acting as the DR region. So we have built this DR application for PeopleSoft in Ashburn region using PeopleSoft Cloud Manager 16 automation process, where you can build a DR application through automation. In case if you do not have DR application, you can use the PeopleSoft Cloud Manager option to build and deploy a DR application for PeopleSoft. So I will just take few minutes of our time to quickly walk you through how we can set up DR application in PeopleSoft Cloud Manager. So this is the PeopleSoft Cloud Manager sign-in page looks like. It looks exactly similar to PeopleSoft application. And in case if you are not aware that PeopleSoft Cloud Manager is available only on Oracle Cloud. No other cloud providers provides PeopleSoft Cloud Manager. And this PeopleSoft Cloud Manager is a orchestration service framework which will help you to automate the lifecycle management of PeopleSoft applications such as PeopleTools upgrade, patching, cloning, refresh, backups, and perm image patching. All of these lifecycle management activities are automated in Cloud Manager. So now, in order to set up a DR application for PeopleSoft application, let's log into the Cloud Manager using Cloud Administrator. Then you click on the Environment section. For this demo purpose, let's assume this is our production application and it's in running status in the OCI Phoenix region. So in order to set up a DR application for this production, all you have to do is click on this button and select disaster recovery. So you will be presented with this page where you will have to provide a disaster recovery environment name. For example, let's say LCM92DR is the name for now. And you provide the region name where the DR will be hosted, and you select the availability domain as well, 81, 82, or 83. So once you provide these details, you will be able to configure as well the DR application. So what it means is, if you click on the configure option, you will be asked to provide VCN and the subnet. The only prerequisite that is needed for deploying DR application using Cloud Manager is that you will need to have a network layer already set up and created in the DR region, which includes VCN, subnet, route tables, and other mandatory network components. So once you have that network layer designed and created in the DR region, you can use Cloud Manager to deploy DR application through automation. So you select the VCN, and then under the general settings, you will be provided with an option to select the shape as well. So what it means is, if you have a production application, for example, running on 2.8 or 2.16 OCPU shape, production application server, and you want to create a DR as well for that application server, you can create with the same shape as 2.16 or 2.8, but also you can create with a lower shape. That means you are building a DR and in undersized DR. This will be useful for cost saving. So you can, of course, build same size as a production, or you can undersize it and reduce reduce the cost saving. It will help you in the cost saving as well. So once you provide all this information for all the mid-tier and the databases, you click on submit. That's it. You will be able to create a standby environment. As you can see, this is a standby environment which we have created for this application. And the status of this is in standby, whereas the production will be in running status. So this is how we automate the process of creating a DR environment. If in case you do not have a DR environment, you can use the Cloud Manager to create one. And also, if you are running the PeopleSoft on Oracle Database as a Service, DBCS, when you are deploying a DR setup using Cloud Manager, it will automatically create a data guard setup between production and DR database. So no manual work involved, all through automation using Cloud Manager. So once you have deployed this, we will have this architecture, which is an active passive. Then we will proceed with implementing full stack disaster recovery for PeopleSoft application. So in order to implement full stack disaster recovery for PeopleSoft application, you will have to log into Oracle Cloud Console. So this is the home page of Oracle Cloud Console. So you have to go to the migration and disaster recovery section. And under disaster recovery, you will see DR protection groups. Once you click that, you will be presented with this page. So DR protection group is nothing but a logical group which will be consisting of all the members of full stack application. That means PeopleSoft application members such as application servers, web server, process scheduler, etc. So we already have created a disaster recovery group in Phoenix region, which is our production region. And also you will have to create disaster recovery protection group in Ashburn region, which will be acting as standby region. So same procedure, go to migration and disaster recovery section and click on DR protection group. Create a DR protection group. So we already have DR protection group created for this demo purpose. So we have two DR protection group created, one in primary region and one in standby region. So once the groups are created, we will have to assign roles to that. So that means which one will be acting as primary region and which one will be acting as standby region. So in this case, Phoenix, we have associated it as primary region, whereas Ashburn will be acting as standby. So once the DR protection groups are created, we will proceed with adding members. You can add members under resources section. So members is nothing but components of PeopleSoft application. So as you saw in my architecture diagram, we saw that these are the components: web server, application server, Elasticsearch, and database and all. So those are the members we are going to add as members in the FSDR group. So I'll just quickly show you how to add a member. So you just click on add member and select the resource type. In this case, we are adding application server, for example. So select compute as the resource type and select the compute instance. For now, application is the compute instance. So you will be presented with two options, moving instance and non-moving instance. I will start with the non-moving instance. So this non-moving instance means the compute instance will not be migrated, will not be moved over to the DR region as part of the DR plan. So what it means is this will be applicable for active passive DR setup. If you see this architecture, this is an active passive DR setup. If you have this active passive DR setup, you can select non-moving instance. If you do not have a DR setup, for example, you have only production application running in Phoenix region and you do not have anything in Ashburn region for PeopleSoft. So you can select moving instance. If you remember, we use Cloud Manager to set up DR. If you are not using Cloud Manager also to set up DR, you can use moving instance option under FSDR, where what it does is, if you do not have a DR, during the DR plan execution, it will create a copy of your production application in the DR region using boot volume backups, and also after the compute instance is created, it will also attach the block volume from production. So basically what it does is it will create the compute instance on the flow while DR is getting executed. So in this case, we already have active passive DR setup. We will select non-moving instance. And for moving instance, one more important feature is that you do not have to have DR always active and running. So that means you will save cost as well.
Just one thing to add on that, Vinay. So this will be applicable only for the compute instance respective, right? So whatever Vinay is showing will be applicable only for the compute. So for the database, we expect you create the standby database upfront, like similarly how you do through BaseDB or through XSES. So this, if you select moving, right? So this will be primarily applicable for topology called Pilot Light or Cold VM, right? So you're not basically having any compute VM, so that will help to reduce cost, right? But it may have additional RTO because the computes will be launched during the runtime, right? So again, in terms of flexibility, you have both options. So you could select depending on your choice of thing, right? So just want to provide some additional input on that.
Yeah, so that's right. This is applicable only for compute, but if you want to select database as a member, you will not get that option. You need a database, standby database in any case. So let's coming back to this compute adding. So we have selected non-moving instance, and then we have added already all the members. So as you can see, Elasticsearch, Web, Windows Client, Process Scheduler, App Server, and the database are added as member in the Phoenix region, which is primary. So similar steps you will have to create adding members in the standby region as well. So these applications components, right? This must be running in the Ashburn region, and the members which are added in the Phoenix region must be running in the Phoenix region. So once the members are added, we will create DR plans. Please note that the DR plans have to be created in the DR region. So in this case, Phoenix is our primary, right? Ashburn is standby. So we will have to create DR plans in the Ashburn region. Now we have completed the members, adding members in both the region. We will proceed with creating the plans. Click on plans under resources section. Click on create plan. You give a name for the plans. For example, let's say switch over for now as the name of the plan. And you will be presented with 4 delivered plans. The first one is the failover, which is an unplanned outage or a real disaster where you will have to fail over from production to the DR region. And the second one is the switchover, which is a planned maintenance or planned outage where you will switch over from production to the DR region in an orderly manner. And the last two are the start drill and stop drill. You remember Suraj was mentioning that we can execute mock drill. So that means you can execute mock DR operation where the start drill will make sure that the DR applications comes through once the DR is executed. So this kind of a DR testing. And the stop drill, what it does is it will stop the drill process, and it will revert the components back to its original state after the stop drill. Now I'm going to walk you through the steps we have implemented for creating switchover plan. We already have switchover plan created for this demo purpose. And this is the switchover plan. So as you can see the name, we are switching over from Phoenix to Ashburn. Phoenix is the primary, if you remember, and Ashburn was standby. So we have created the DR plan in the DR region, which is Ashburn. So based on the members we have added, it will create built-in steps. So under the type, you can see built-in. So there will be a built-in pre-checks, which is always created for every DR plan. So basically it does all the pre-checks that are needed. And then based on the members added, it has also created a built-in step for switchover of database from primary to standby region. So apart from this, you can see there are other user-defined groups as well added. So since it is a switchover plan, right, it's a scheduled maintenance or scheduled switchover, where we will cleanly shut down the production application in the primary region, switch over to the DR region. So in order to automate the entire process of switchover, what we have done is we have created custom groups and custom steps. Starting with stopping the application in primary region, which is Phoenix, we have created a group under this, and we have also created steps within the group. So I'll just quickly walk you through the steps we have created. For example, if you want to stop PeopleSoft application server domain, right? You can create a step under the group, and you can create a local script. So this, what it does is, it will run a local script, which is app shutdown in this application server. And for your information, we have placed all the custom scripts in this GitHub directory, which we are going to share. You can refer to these scripts and you can write your own custom scripts as well. So basically what this step is doing, we are stopping the application domain. So app shutdown shell script is written for this. It will invoke and it will run in the application server, and it will stop the application server domain. Similarly, we have written the same script for stopping the process scheduler domain in Linux, Windows, stopping the web server, stopping the Elasticsearch and Kibana services. So once we have cleanly shut down the application in production region, we will start the synchronization. If you remember, in the architecture, we have used rsync for synchronization. You can use OCI cross-region replication as well for between the block volumes, as well as other your convenient methods of syncing. So we will disable the synchronization in the Phoenix region, and then we will proceed with the switchover of database. So this is a built-in process, no need to change anything. So once the switchover database is completed, we will proceed with updating the DNS record. So what this step does is, we will update the DNS record of the PeopleSoft application to point to the load balancer IP of the standby region, in case Ashburn IP. Then once the DNS record is updated, we will start the application in Ashburn region. So similar step we have written for booting up the application server domain. It will be running in the same application server in the Ashburn, and we have written the app boot shell script. So it boots up the application server domain. Similar steps are written for process scheduler domains in Linux, Windows, and web server domains. And we have also written start Elasticsearch and start Kibana services. And finally, we have written one script where we will reverse the synchronization. That means once we are switched over from production to standby region, we will reverse the synchronization from actual acting production to the DR region in a reverse way. And one more important point here is that the groups, the steps inside the groups are going to run parallel. So that means the stop application in Phoenix group will have these many steps, right? All of these steps will run parallel. So this will lead to less time execution for DR. As you know, DR is a time critical activity. So this will help you out, running these steps in parallel. Whereas groups, it will run in series. So once this group is completed, it will start the next group. Whereas steps, it will run in parallel. So this is what we have done. Of course, as Suraj mentioned, this is highly flexible and customizable. You can write any number of custom script as per your requirement. Since this one we are just used as a standard where we are stopping and switching over update of DNS record and starting the application. You can also add any number of custom scripts, such as notifying in email notification. You can add. You can create one custom script where it will invoke a process to run after the switchover, a business sanity check you can automate. All of this customization can be added as a group and can be executed through DR plan. So this is what the switchover plan looks like. Now, I'm going to execute that plan. So all you have to do is run pre-checks first. Once the pre-checks is completed, execute DR plan. We have already executed the DR plan for this demo. I'm going to show you the execution plan. So if you click on plan execution, you will see switchover plan being executed, and you will see how much time it took for each of the groups. And within the steps of within the group also, you will see how much time it took for each of the steps. So this is critical information for you to establish an RTO, how much time it takes for switching over from production to DR region, and it gets recorded for all of the groups and steps, including custom steps. And also you can see the logs of the steps to see what the script is doing. As you can see, it is just updating the DNS record and disabling the synchronization. If you see, for example, stopping the application, let's go to stop PeopleSoft app server domain and see the log. You see, it looks exactly similar to the PS admin logs. It is stopping the application. So all this gets logged, and you can see this log. And if in case, if something goes wrong and some of the step gets failed, you can view the log and get the error message, troubleshoot it, and continue from there. So for this example, this is a very simple architecture, as you saw. The overall duration for the switchover took 18 minutes, 23 seconds. Okay, now we have gone through the switchover. Now I'm going to explain about how does the failover looks like, the failover plan. Now, after the switchover is completed, Ashburn will become a primary region and Phoenix will become standby. So as I mentioned before, we will have to create DR plan in the DR region. So now switchover is completed. Phoenix will be acting as standby for now, and we will have to create DR plan in the standby region. We already have created a failover plan. If you see, we have created a failover from Ashburn to Phoenix. So it will come up with built-in plans. If you remember, built-in pre-checks, which is a mandatory. By default, it comes for every DR plan. And the second built-in plan is failover of database. If you remember the difference between failover and switchover, here it's saying failover of database, whereas in switchover, it was switchover of database. So in the failover plan, we have this. As you know, failover is an unplanned outage. So we will not have full control or any control at all to stop or to cleanly shut down the production application in production region. Hence, we cannot add stopping the application in production region. We will have to immediately fail over to the DR region. So the steps are similar, except stopping the application. Once the pre-checks are completed, failover of database is completed, we will start with the DNS record update to point to the DNS, to the load balancer IP of the DR region. And then we will start with the production application domains in the Phoenix region, such as booting up the application server domain, process scheduler domain, web server domains, etc. And also we will start the Elasticsearch, Kibana, and enable synchronization. So this completes overall switchover and failover. And as I said before, you can add custom plans and custom steps in failover section as well as in switchover as well. So all of these tasks are recorded in a live lab workshop. This is a live lab which we are going to share the links with you all, which will have step-by-step information about how to implement, what are the prerequisite setups, how to create and associate DR protection group, how to add members, how to create plan, perform pre-checks, switchover, failover. All of these are documented here step-by-step, where you can refer to that. And the same information is also recorded in this documentation as well. Both the links will be shared with you, along with the custom scripts we have created, which you can refer it to create your own scripts. So this is how the full stack disaster recovery can be implemented for PeopleSoft application. And with this, we have just to summarize, we have PeopleSoft Cloud Manager to automate the DR setup, and we have full stack disaster recovery service in Oracle Cloud to automate the DR orchestration process for PeopleSoft application for both switchover and failover, and also you can do mock DR drill as well for PeopleSoft application. Over to you, Suraj. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Vinay. Uh, so you have seen, right, in terms of flexibility we have, right? So whatever Vinay showed you is just a pattern of like deploying the PeopleSoft in an active passive deployment, right? But again, like if you have a moving instance topology, right, you could do that as well, right? So there was a question from Rahul. It is something related. I thought I'll be answering live, right? So is there is a cross-region replication enabled for block volume instead of parsing? How the replication can be disabled in the plan, right? So again, like so, example of the deployment pattern which Vinay has used is like active passive, right? And he didn't leverage the OCI block volume. Instead of he used parsing. But again, like if you have a requirement, you could easily add the volume groups, right? So that's what you can do. So I'm just showing a quick example of a plan, right? Like in case if you added a volume group as well as maybe a moving instance, right? Then you will see a plan something similar to this, right? So example, if you added a moving instance, then you will see a step something we built automatically for stop compute instance and then switching the volume groups. And then while launching the instance, we automatically add that replicated block volume, right? So again, it is the choice is yours, right? Depending on your RT1 RPO requirements, you can do it. And the good thing is, right, like if you leverage the infrastructure core services where we have built-in types, all these steps will be built in by the service automatically, right? So you see here like the steps like stop compute, volume groups, and all those things which will be automatically built in. And why I thought to show this plan is, right, again, like this webinar is something we are exclusively speaking about PeopleSoft. But imagine like in an enterprise level, right? PeopleSoft is just one app, right? You might be surrounded by various dependent applications. So this is a plan, right? We have for a bunch of application, right? So example, I'm just showing the in terms of, I mean, the depth and width of the service which you're covering, right? So here we have steps for stopping EBIS, step for stopping analytics cloud integration, some custom apps, right? And then we have built-in members to update load balancer. So we have integration with file system. So if example, if you are using file system service, then we have automation built in to take care of the recovery steps for file system, right? So this service is highly, I mean, customizable, and also we have a lot of built-in models which we have added to help you to automate the most of the infrastructure components which we have in OCI. And then apart from that, like custom scripts, as Vinay mentioned, right? Like PeopleSoft, you just need to write a script and then you can bring that as part of the overall orchestration. Okay, hope that answers. So let me continue with my rest of my presentation, which is basically to share our customer success story. So I'll just directly jump into that. Again, like the resources will be made available in the slide as well, but also I've shared in the chat. So whatever live labs and then tutorial, the GitHub repo, and also we have a playlist which we have already recorded where you can watch it, right? So that is also available where you can see. So again, these are customers who have implemented exactly similar kind of, I mean, an architecture they have, and they have used full stack DR to do the recovery automation. So they are a US-based customer based out in East Coast. So it's called Sculptor Capital. So this is their pre full stack DR configuration, right? Quite ideal, like, I mean, similar to what Vinay showed. So they have two regions. In fact, they exactly use Ashburn as Phoenix, right? And they have all their app servers, and then the database they use base DB, and they're replicating to DataGuard. The only change in terms of the application files, right? They use a cluster replication, which will basically replicate the files across from Ashburn to Phoenix, right? So they have their built-in Guster replication tool rather than leveraging the RC. They've used a replication tool to replicate the data from Ashburn to Phoenix. So in terms of challenges, again, you can read through it. The main thing when the customer when we met them, right, they showed before the services like their procedures were highly documented, and it is kind of out of date, right? So example, they might have done a DR drill last year, but beyond that, they would have went and had and modified certain configuration, which was not made available in the documentation, right? So again, the documents were kind of loosely there, and it doesn't have the proper details, and they're really heavily manual procedure, right? So example, they have to rely on all the administrators during a weekend, or because DR is something can happen anytime, or even in case if you're planning to do a plan transition, right? Ideally, you would do during the uh, downtime, right? So that will be happening either out of business hours, right? So customers, there are chances of having human mirror, right? And also this will increase the recovery time, right? Because if you're leveraging a manual process where you need to complete and then you have to hand it over, there'll be always an additional time to do the transition, right? So it increases the RTO. And when they saw this service, right, they immediately got attracted because they were able to do everything from a single pane of glass with a single click of a button, right? And the other one, which is an important one, right, because as long as if anyone has the OCA access, right, the console access, they can see the logs. Like you can download the logs, so we store the logs in the object storage. So if any auditing requirements or management wants to review, they get everything from a single pane of glass. So that also were not able to do before the full stack DR implementation. So this is the architecture right after what they've implemented, right? Again, if you notice, they just exactly the same architecture. Again, like I was talking about the flexibility of the service, right? You don't need to reinvent any wheels. So you can just use your existing architecture, what you have, and then just use full stack DR to the recovery operations in an automated way. So we just used the full stack DR protection groups, what are Vinay showed to them, showed to you previously, and then they've implemented full stack DR on top of their existing DR setup. So implementation, again, it will be exactly the same thing what Vinay showed to you, right? So the customer went ahead and created the protection groups, associated the roles, added the members. Again, this customer have deployed the non-moving, right? So that means they're using active passive. So they added all the production VMs in the Ashburn protection groups and the DR VMs in the Phoenix DR protection groups, and they went ahead and created the plans, right? And then they customized the plan with the additional user-defined groups. You can see here, right? So they've created plan groups for stopping web servers, application servers, process scheduler servers, Elastic. So exactly same thing of what Vinay showed to you, similar to this, but the screenshot is from our customer tenancy who went ahead and implemented. So once they did, then they went ahead and ran the pre-checks, and then they've executed this plan. So now this plan is available on both sides, right? So whenever they want to perform a switchover, right, from one region to another region for any plan maintenance, or in case if there is a major outage to the production, if they want to failover, then they can use the service to do this, right? Again, like if you notice, when I have explicitly highlighted, we allow you to create the plan only in the DR region, right? So we understood that reason, right? Like being our service is a regional service, right? In case if your primary region is not available, you should be able to use the DR plans which you have built to use the service, right? So even if in case if your primary region infrastructure is not available, you still be able to still use the service to go ahead and execute the DR plan, right? The failover plan. So just to end up in terms of benefits, what our customer have showed, right? Again, you could easily imagine now they've completely moved away from the Excel runbook or a Word document to an organized switchover or a failover plan, which will be always there in the OCI console. And again, this service is a OCI native service, right? And it is fully managed service. So customer of getting implementation is super easy, right? So if you already have an existing production and a DR PeopleSoft setup, right? We are talking about implementing in hours, right? So you can, as long as you take care of the prerequisites, right? Like if you have all the scripts, you could simply implement this thing, whatever which when I showed in a day or two, right? So it is very easy to use, and they could execute the DR operation with a single click, right? So rather than leveraging on multiple administrators to various things, right? Now an L1 administrator, as long as he or she has access to use the OCI console and have necessary IAM policies to run the plan, they could easily do that, which will directly reduces the RTO, right? Again, all the steps which you have shown just run through in a phased manner, right? So there is no gap between the various tasks. So our customer told they've seen significant recovery time improvements when they're comparing to the manual process. And again, like in any organization, right, there are chances people will move away, right? So anyone if newly joining, right, people can just reuse the plan whatever they have, right? So in terms of recovery process initiation, it's super easy to use, and DR plan will be always up to date, right? So example, if you are adding additional members, right, or creating more servers, you could just simply add it into the into the server, into the plan, and then you can recreate the plan, right? So in terms of up to dating the plan, it's always will be there, and you could easily use that. And of course, there will be improvements, right? I would like to share this as well. So what they mention in terms of they like our service, right? As I mentioned, it's a fully managed service, right? So from a customer perspective, you don't need to run any additional infrastructure for using the service, and provide single pane of glass. Everyone like this, right? So you get all the things from a single pane of glass, like running the pre-checks, executing the plan, monitoring and troubleshooting. Everything will be done from a single pane of glass, right? And the process is fully automated, right? So once you decided to go ahead and execute, it's just a click of a button to go ahead and run the plan. And there are some improvements which we are actively working, right? The one thing which a customer have mentioned is, hey, do we have any option to export an import plan, right? So currently you can do that through CLI, but we are working to provide a native functionality within our service. And the third point is something very important, right? Whenever you add a member to the plan, by default, currently the plan gets deleted. So again, we understand that's a painful experience. So we have an active project which we are working on currently to refresh the plan automatically. So that is expected to come by end of this quarter. So that will take care of that. And also there is another feedback which customer mentioned, like how to add a step, kind of an informational only step. So example, like if you are leveraging a third party DNS, right, where you cannot directly control from our OCI, then we are providing a step called an information only or pause step, so that you could complete that step and then you could resume the plan, right? So again, this was one of the feedback many customers provided. So we are working on that. So all the three improvements, good thing is there is an active project which is happening, and also we are getting close to getting this implemented as well. Okay, so yeah, this is what I have in terms of content, right? So we covered multiple things here, right? Like right from starting the service and what are the things you need to do in terms of deploying the PeopleSoft, right? Again, that's a major thing, which is we don't have direct control from full stack DR, but Vinay did cover through you like how to set up the DR using the PeopleSoft manager, and after that, how we leverage the full stack DR to automate the recovery process. And also we have seen a customer reference story who have used a similar deployment architecture and they've integrated with full stack DR. Okay, so I see the question. We can move with different regions. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So if you notice, right, the service is either you can use across AD, also cross region, right? So the screens or whatever Vinay showed you, right, it was deployed using cross region, right? So you could do that as long as you take care of the cross region replication of the files, the block storage, then the VMs will be automatically moved across the region. Okay, cool. So we have done with all the questions.
Fantastic presentation and demo. Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate your time. A special thank you to Suraj and Vinay for this presentation.